Good morning, Terp fans. This is TerpTalk Game Day. It's our first basketball-football split edition. We're going to start with football today. This is Bruce Posner. I'm Wayne Viener. This is intern Mason. We've got everybody in the house, including our Chesapeake Bay Retriever here. Last week, Bruce, we came close. It was 31-24. We lose to Wisconsin. Sort of a crazy ending for Maryland. The onside-offside kick does us in. I know that there were moments in that game last week, Maryland-Wisconsin, where you wondered where Maryland was going, but at the end, we got back in it.
I appreciate the tremendous effort, all right? But it's extremely frustrating and disappointing as the losses continue to mount on top of each other. To me, the day got off to a horrible start when
Craddock?
Yeah, when Craddock got hurt. And then, what was it? Brandon Ross missed a block.
And
Perry Hills got pancaked.
Yeah.
And that was it for Brandon Ross the rest of the game.
Well, you got two carries. Wes Brown, the starter now at tailback for the Terps, and Loxley cites pass protection and just overall game feel for that.
You know, we talked about it last week, and Wisconsin was better than Maryland last week, not by much, by the fact that somebody was offsides by a foot.
Yeah.
All right, but the unbalanced schedule in the Big Ten is starting to be a much bigger factor than I ever imagined. Now, it could just be an anomaly of this season, but when you look at Maryland's schedule, and this is no excuse, how many games have we lost to top 10 teams?
This is 4 top 10 defenses?
Yeah, we played 4 top 10 defenses.
But you're talking about Ohio State and Michigan State and Wisconsin. We're talking, and I don't know, Penn State's not ranked.
No.
But and then you look at who Wisconsin plays, and it's not even in the same realm.
No, that's the Northwestern, Minnesota, Purdue. It's just Indiana.
I'm just saying, if we were in that other division, you know, Randy Edsel might still be the coach.
He might be.
I'm not saying he would be.
If they won a couple more games, which would be a possibility with a different schedule, he probably still would be the coach today.
I had a fan come up to me yesterday and said that he went to West Virginia. And I said, so did Wayne. He said to me, as he's watching that game and as he's watching that develop, he kind of knew it was the end. He said it was the worst thing he's ever witnessed.
Right. That was not the worst Maryland performance I've ever seen. But
damn close.
It was close. As I said, people asked me, how tough was it driving home? I said it wasn't as tough driving home. It was really a lot tougher at halftime, wasn't it, Mason? That game was just over.
The game was done, so it was just pretty much the second half was just there to be played and there for the backups of West Virginia to play.
Right.
And for Maryland maybe to show some heart.
And that's back when West Virginia thought they were good. That hasn't turned out so well.
Which I predicted 4 straight losses, and the 4 straight losses were obvious. And their schedule's brutal too, just for the record.
Right.
But anyway, the coaching carousel was talked about a lot among the press corps yesterday.
Right.
And the new name that popped up that I talked to Keith Cavanaugh on Wednesday about is Pep Hamilton.
Well, I like Pep Hamilton.
Why?
I like Pep Hamilton because granted, he had Andrew Luck, but the last couple times that I've seen him put an offense together, except for this year at Indianapolis with the Colts, he's had pretty good success. He's a top 20 offense several times. He's had elite talent when he's done it, but he has been known in the college ranks as a guy who could become a head coach. And up until this season, he was the next best bet to be an NFL leap from coordinator to head coach. And then
he applied for the Oakland job and was turned down in favor of Jack Del Rio, which is certainly no disgrace.
Right.
Let's look at the job Jack Del Rio's done. And he supposedly reached out to Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was told yesterday. However, he's not our coach yet. And you would think that because he doesn't have a job right now, that this could have been wrapped up. One of my problems with Pep Hamilton is that, if I'm not mistaken, that Loxley hired him.
I believe he worked with Loxley. I don't know if they ever actually worked together. I think Loxley hired him, and then Loxley moved on.
Well, I thought he hired him in New Mexico.
I believe it was there for a little while. I'm not sure what the overlap was.
Okay, and he worked for David Shaw with Andrew Luck, and then he wound up in Indianapolis because Luck was there, and they tossed their coordinator. And this year is hard to really judge anything with the injuries to Andrew Luck. But coordinators who are let go in the middle of the year, wow. I even heard a Cam Cameron mentioned last night.
Right. I've heard a lot of names out there.
Please. I mean, I like Cam personally, but
on the hot boards, Lane Kiffin was another name that's been coming up.
My first name was Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, and he's
my problem with him is,
and he's my last name.
Right. But my problem with Lane Kiffin is, he can coach. There's no issue. All right. However, he'll come to Maryland, have a good year, and he'll leave.
Yeah.
He's proven that, many times.
Not the most trustworthy guy out there. So Brad Craddock, Mason Craddock, could be out for the year now.
Is out for the year.
Is now officially out for the year?
That's what I am.
On Tuesday, they weren't sure what he was going to have. What do you know about the backup?
Adam Green, really, a lot of people think that he was that good as Brad Craddock, maybe Maryland's next good kicker that's going to make the NFL. Last week we saw him make a kick, miss a kick, made another one.
Right, the onside kick.
And a pretty good onside kick, but Maryland was offsides and it was called back.
To be honest with you, it was best onside kick execution I've ever seen. All right. Now, I don't know if he could duplicate it, but the way the play developed, and Sean Davis was able to get to this ball.
Right.
All right. And although he would have been stopped at the 40 or something.
Right. Well, what's the rule?
I believe that the rule is if Wisconsin never touched the ball, Maryland cannot advance it.
They can recover. It's a live ball after 10 yards. Right. So, for a moment there, disregarding the offsides, disregarding the rules, which we're good at, because you can do that. It's talk radio. It looked like Maryland had just tied the game. The whole 4,000 people that were still there were going crazy. What do you think of the fact that almost everybody went home?
I mean, we're looking at a team like Wisconsin that can really, really run the football. So with 7 minutes left, down by 14, a lot of people think that this game was over.
Yeah.
It's just getting to the point where, like, even you said when we started the show today, I guess we'll split half and half.
Right.
Because, when you're 2-6 or 2-7, when you're 2-7, all right, where is, I'd love to see him win today. And I'll watch the game and root ferociously just like you will.
Yep.
But the second you lose a game, you say, okay, so it's a little loss.
They put themselves into a position where there's almost no sizzle left in the actual football season. It's all about who's the next coach going to be. Can they keep the recruiting class? But it's not about what's happening on the field. Now, that makes it great to talk about because you always have something going on. But I really wish we'd go back to winning some football games.
Well, when your basketball team is in the top 5 in the country and nothing in their first 2 performances have dissuaded you otherwise, all right? And what's going to happen?
Well, we'll click over that. We got about 30 seconds probably left for football. What do you know about Michigan State?
Well, Michigan State, another top 20 defense for Maryland to play. They're giving up somewhere around 24 points per game. And this year, unlike most Michigan State teams that love running the ball, it's about Connor Cook this year in the passing game. He gets 267 yards a game, but on top of that, they're still a running team. They get 154 yards a game on the ground.
Okay, so you've been high on Connor Cook all year. What's the quarterback tree there? Starts with Hoyer?
Yeah, Brian Hoyer starting for the Houston Texans, Kirk Cousins here in Washington, and now Connor Cook looking to be the 3rd Michigan State NFL quarterback in a row.
Okay, so I've got USA Today Friday edition, a quote from the paper here on the Tom Pelissero column. Why didn't teammates vote Michigan State senior quarterback Connor Cook a captain? That continues to be among the questions, giving NFL scouts pause on Cook, who operates a pro-style offense, has a good enough arm, is fairly accurate, and can throw to receivers who are open. But does he have any of the traits of the truly elite quarterbacks? He seems to be a rhythm passer. So that's one man's opinion.
We'll have to get Mason in the huddle, or maybe you can figure out why.
Right.
But one thing I looked at, and I know that they've been winning. When you have 21 TDs and only three interceptions, you're doing something right.
Well, they're questioning something here. I guess they're looking for nits to pick. So you'd said its schedule's balanced and unbalanced. 8-1 Michigan State, 4-1 in the conference. They got a really odd loss at Nebraska last week. And the last time Maryland played Michigan State, they came off their only loss. That was last year. They have Ohio State and Michigan left to go. That's a tough road to finish that up.
No, they beat Michigan on that.
They beat Michigan, which
the block.
They have Ohio State
and
Penn State.
Penn State.
At Penn State. I mean, those are two brutal. No, it's at home. Ohio State and Penn State, we just don't know. You know, it depends what team shows up. But look, they were robbed of that victory against Nebraska. It's very questionable, that one play, but they're not. You look at their out of conference games. You got to win against Oregon, which at the time wasn't that a top 10 win.
Yeah, Oregon was ranked number 7 when that game happened, and Michigan State really expected that one, if they went undefeated, to push them into the playoff.
Yeah, and I went over Air Force in Central and Western Michigan. As far as patsies go, not at the bottom of the barrel.
No. So Maryland, it's 12 o'clock. It's on ESPN2.
15 points.
15-point spread. Well, probably about right. Mason can do his mathematical analytics as Ron Jaworski over here. They have about 75,000 people in Spartan Stadium. They're ranked 14th. Since the start of the 2010 season, Michigan State has 61 wins. They are ranked 7th overall in the number of wins. And Mark D'Antoni, as good a coach as there is, and that's one of the reasons that you think Maryland needs a star to bring in the coach, because we go up against guys like this.
You know, you think about the game today, and I think that one of these times Maryland can get through a game without 5 turnovers or 11 penalties.
Well, the 11 penalties last week.
You know, because they were in it against Ohio State. They were in it against Wisconsin. They were in it against who was in between.
Well, you've got Penn State almost won.
Penn State, they almost won.
Since Loxley's taken over Iowa, Maryland's been in the game enough that you don't just turn it off in the third quarter.
Right.
If you're a casual fan. We stick to the end. I got one quarterback question.
Shoot.
Were you surprised to see that Caleb was resurrected in the fourth quarter?
No, I really wasn't. And Caleb Rowe is kind of the guy who, if all things fail, you know, and you need a couple touchdowns, he's the guy you bring in. And look, Loxley has used everybody, and I think it's been a big plus to the team. Everybody has played almost. I mean, you see names out there that, you know, you don't even remember them being recruited.
Right.
All right. And he's tried everybody, and I think that they presents a tremendously unified game. Listen, more than anything else, I'd love to see us win the next 3 games and, you know, rehire Lox or give him a couple years and see what he can do, because I believe in continuance. All right. I believe in the continuance of the program. You know, Randy didn't win. All right. But it wasn't like the program was falling apart. Okay. In a different way. It wasn't like, you know, you don't smell mass defections and stuff like that. And the recruiting is still strong. A lot of that is because of Loxley.
Loxley, Chad Wilt, those are the guys that brought in most of the players.
If he goes 0-6, I mean, you know, what are you going to say? You know, it's not going to happen.
I think that Maryland, once you get over this Hall of Fame schedule, you get Indiana and you get Rutgers, I think you win a game or 2. Mason?
I definitely see this team constantly improving in the way that I like to see. All the fight, everybody's getting to play. This is like you just can't say that, well, I didn't play and that's why we lost type of thing. Good. I would love to see Mike Loxley back next year. As the head coach.
Yeah. And then I never thought I would really say that after they let Randy go. I wanted a real high-profile guy, but you start hearing about it. This guy doesn't want to come, and this guy doesn't want to come, and Miami's job's open, and USC's job, and South Carolina.
And Missouri added to the list today.
Right now, you've got 11 openings.
Virginia's going to be an open job. And there's been one poster, not sure what.
Bring him in as a defensive coordinator.
Bring Mike London in, and boy, have you locked down the recruiting. So that's hope for the future. Let's talk about right now. You two guys, I was on travel. You covered the Terps' 80-56 win against Mount St. Mary's. We give Mason 20 seconds, and what was the crowd like?
Amazing crowd. People sitting in the places that on conference games you don't see people sitting there. An announced sellout. What a crowd! And when
It was announced sellout, and I got to tell you, 90% Mason probably there. There were scattered empty seats, but it was packed, and the crowd was on fire. I mean, it's nothing to do. The crowd was great because they're winners. And, Mason and I talked about one key time of the game, and I talked to Turgeon about it afterwards, and he corrected me, and everybody was laughing. But there was one time of the game where you had Michael Sikowski 7-1.
So you're even getting coached by Turgeon now. He's coaching everybody.
He's coaching me for sure. So now, Gary would have destroyed me if I asked the question.
Right.
I asked a question about the height, the size of this team was incredible, and I named the players. He says, "Bruce, you got it wrong." Right, I'll play it on the on the Maven. But anyway, Sikowski 7-1, Diamond Stone 6'11", Jake Lehman 6'10", Jared Nickens 6'7", and Rashid Suleiman a powerful 6'3". And I'm telling you, the other team could not put up an offense against that lineup. This team was so big. And from where we sit, elevator right behind the basket, I wish I had a camera. And I told Turgeon afterwards, I said, you got to look at this. Yeah. It looked impenetrable. All right. Now, we were playing Mount St. Mary's, but still, they had some big guys on that team. It wasn't, the guards were small. But at some point, you had Sikowski got switched and was guarding a 5'7" point guard.
Yeah. That's the part that gives me pause. You wrote on the notes for the Sports Maven, which is on at 9 o'clock on 1300 CBS Sports Radio this morning, that the key is how big they are. Sometimes I look at that and go, wow, how are we going to compete with these teams that could roll 4 guards out and everybody we have is 7 feet tall? Can you actually chase these guys down? Or is the answer is zone?
Here's the difference. Zone is the answer in that situation, but here's the difference. You've got some active guys with big motors. I love Rashid Suleiman. I mean, he's not scored a lot of points, but he does everything else. And he's not even concerned about scoring points, and his points will come. All right. And Carter is able, and so is Lehman, to chase these guards. Now, you don't know what's going to happen in a crazy matchup, but on the other hand, Maryland yesterday out-rebounded the Mount 44-20. I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to lose any game when you out-rebound the team 44-20. And finally, their assist-to-turnover ratio, 15-14, was on the positive side.
Well, that's also a concern, is that so far, been more turnovers than you like to see?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, a few of those Brantley plays where he just tried to gun the ball to Stone, Robert Carter, and the ball was just caught by Mount St. Mary's. Is just like, it's sort of looking like a why type of thing. Why do you have to do that? Because you know that you can pass the ball into these guys and they'll score.
Give Brantley a little bit of a break because it's the second time with this team. He had a tremendous pass to Jake Lehman for a stuff that kind of accentuated the game and ended the game. But no, he's not scoring. He has turnovers. But then again, Mello was out the last 7 minutes. It looked like he tweaked his back a little bit. But no comments on it afterwards. I think that the game was well in hand, that he wanted to give Brantley some time anyway.
Front page of the Washington Post. I don't know if you can really see it, but there's that picture off of a Lehman dunk. And for Maryland's Lehman, a back-to-school special, of course, by the Terp beat writer Roman Stubbs. Georgetown comes in. I have read the most ticket requests since the last time Duke's come in. People your age taking into account how big a game this is. A big deal for just us old people, or is everybody in on this?
Everybody's in on this. A lot of people either like Georgetown or Maryland. I don't see much of the middle ground. I see a lot more Maryland. But the one thing that I'm going to say is, you told me to look up the game in 1993. Yeah. Maybe that might show a bit of a divide between the young and the old crowd.
Because it was 1993?
Yeah, because it's 1993.
How old were you in 1993?
Negative
9,
9 or 8.
something like that.
We still talk about that game like it was yesterday, and
Right.
it wasn't. It's a long time ago. But listen, recruiting-wise, Georgetown and Maryland are always in the battle, and there's a general, I don't like I guess there is a dislike or
There's a dislike.
but I can't see. I don't like Turgeon dislikes JT3. I don't
No,
think that for a second.
Turgeon hasn't been around a long time. I think that's one of the reasons you can get this game in. For Georgetown, the guy who might have gone pro in the spring, Devontae Smith-Rivera. There's a 6'10" freshman center. Georgetown always seems to bring the defensive pressure. They're ranked 24th, I believe, in this poll. So it's sort of a 24 versus 3 or versus 1.
I'm going to make an early prediction that will tell you how the game will probably go.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, and I'm pretty good at it, 7.5-point favorite, Maryland. And that's a lot. All right. But that's what I see as I'm getting some papers handed to me by Mr. Proper. And we are running out of time. Wait, let's give Mason his due on the pick of the week.
Who's your game of the week there, Mason?
I got Baylor with 2 points, but I'm still taking Oklahoma in Waco, Texas.
Right.
And Baylor, I just see with the freshman quarterback just not being able to get this one done against Samanje Pirine, Baker Mayfield, and the Oklahoma spread offense.
You don't like those spread offenses, but this is 2 of the best, supposedly.
2 of the best, definitely. Maybe this game would, I feel, be a lot more interesting if Seth Russell was still playing for Baylor, but
Right.
spread offense versus spread offense, and I think Oklahoma's spread offense will win.
I like Baylor. I'm not in love with the game. The 2 games, my best bets of the day are Florida State laying 10 over NC State and South Florida getting 3 over Temple at home. South Florida is a better team, as we knew
Than
early
we
in the
saw.
year. Yeah,
Right.
but I think they were good then. I think it was a good win for Maryland. But obviously, it's going to wrap us up. We got the Navy coming,
I got one more. I got
and the Nest tomorrow. We got to talk about the
back
Nest.
in the nest. Memphis, Houston. It's almost a Maryland possible coaching battle preview.
Is that today?
That is today. 8-1 Memphis.
Is that today or tonight?
It's tonight. It's a 7:00 game.
That's one worth watching.
Okay, so that'll wrap up Terp Talk Game Day. Remember, catch the Sports Game at 9 o'clock. In the Nest tomorrow, 9 a.m., 1300 CBS Sports Radio. For intern Mason, for Bruce Posner, this is Wayne Viener. Thanks to Viener Consulting for
And we
being
didn't predict the Maryland game.
Maryland beats Georgetown by at least 7.
Michigan State. What's the final? I mean, what do you think?
31-20 Michigan State.
I see Michigan State really winning this one, 42-21.
Yeah, I'm worried about this one because Michigan State's on fire. However, I think Maryland, again, will keep it close. So, I would say 31-24.
Okay, well, we'll be back next week to see how we did on these predictions and talk Indiana. It comes in to Bird Stadium. Good morning. We'll see you on the radio in a few minutes.